Imagine if that head trash was not there. Who would you be? What if I told you those fears were no longer a problem? What would you do? I'm Stephanie Costello, a mom of 3, wife, and avid mountaineer. Beyond all of these, I am very much like you, an average person trying to navigate this thing we call life. My goal with this podcast is to bring to light the truth about what intimacy really is. You may smile, feel called out, or learn something new. Either way, you will learn you are in control. This episode is brought to you by Safety in Freedom. Are you struggling to find safety in the freedom you create? Or maybe you're struggling to own your power, embrace who you are, and break free from those toxic patterns? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's figure out what is really happening in your relationships with yourself and others. You can do that for free today at safetyinfreedom.com/call. That is safetyinfreedom.com/call. In addition, if you are looking for support with what we've been talking about in today's episode, I want to encourage you to get our free tools to help you navigate your freedom. You can go now to safetyinfreedom.com to get those resources. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit theintimacytruths.com. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Reverend Andrea. She is an award-winning speaker, author, and coach of more than 17 years. She created the Audacious Path, the Money Course, and the Personal Power Formula to help entrepreneurs take control of their money so they can also take control of their life and business. In addition to being a certified empowerment coach, she is also an Infinite Possibilities certified trainer and an ordained metaphysical minister. When entrepreneurs are on their audacious path, they align with their authentic self and true purpose.
All right. Welcome to the Intimacy Truths podcast, where we have Andrea here to talk to us about living on your audacious path as a female entrepreneur. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, and thank you for being patient with me and all of my isms. Tell us, where did your journey of living on your audacious path start as a female entrepreneur?
Wow, where did I start? Well, it started at birth, right? Because
Yes.
Honestly, I was 2 months early, and talking about living on your audacious path way back when, that was rare to actually be able to live that long.
Yeah.
To be able to live through that. So, the audacious path is everyone's journey, and how life, when we're on our audacious path, we know it because it propels us forward, and we're making choices to be able to live audaciously. And because that, to me, that means like living on purpose and living with intention and really being and doing what we really truly want to do and be and have in this world. So for me, it started, and I will pick a point and start where I was living my dream and having my business, starting my business. It took me 10 years to go to coaching school after I had learned about this thing called coaching. And I finally allowed myself to go to coaching school. And when I finished, I quit my job, and I had an infant and a toddler who were such a joy to have at home. I wanted to be able to be with them as much as possible, but I also wanted to have my own business. So I was doing both. I was being able to care for them and also build my business, and was loving it. And my then husband came home in the middle of the work day one day and was laid off. And that changed our trajectory a little bit, but I was initially super excited because, like, okay, now you get to do your thing. And so we had our 2 businesses going along, and I, had this like, wow, we're really doing it. We're maybe not making the money that we want to make right in this moment, but we're getting there and we're building. And then I realized that we were $30,000 in debt, and I didn't know it.
Oh, wow.
So on that journey, I said, okay, wait, stop. This is not the direction I want to be going. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do something different. I went back to work full time for somebody else, with the benefits and the steady paycheck, and had this opportunity to build the foundation that I wanted to build, which meant getting us completely out of debt. And so in 1 year, I was able to do that. And it changed everything from there, from that point moving forward, because I was able to create what I call the strong financial foundation. And at that point, I was recruited by an old boss who had moved away, and my then husband didn't want to move, and our marriage wasn't doing so well. So I ended up getting divorced in 31 days and moved halfway across the country 5 days later with my kids. Like, that is, to me, huge audacious path. Talk about courage, because this is my sign back here as a reminder. Courage, you got this. Love, Andrea. And that's, to me, as much as it is to everyone else, about like what it takes to be on that audacious path. So as I was building my own self-worth and my own journey, and making sure that my kids were safe, that I was moving in the direction that I wanted to go in, that everything was taken care of. And so that kind of began the next few steps on my own path and my own journey for myself.
So amazing to hear. I love how you say you're being a female entrepreneur and being on your audacious path started when you were born, because it's so true. I feel like some of us, for myself, for example, when I was born a dedicated, determined individual. People always wonder, like, where'd that come from? Your story is challenging, and your story, there's so many ways and spots where you could have just let yourself be held back, and you didn't. And it's true. It's just an innate feature in some of us with, different INFJs and whatever your Myers-Briggs personality test results might be. We just are born to be driven, and never, whatever roadblock is in the way, we just kind of see it as a little roadblock, a little speed bump, and we're going to get over it. Right. So I love that. And then propelled you forward in living with intention. That I found that to me describes so much more what the audacious path really is, and meaning is for you, what your audacious path really is. So I'm curious, aside from all of the life experiences and struggles and challenges internally for yourself, what was it that really propelled you forward, and created that desire to live with your intention?
I'm actually writing that. I know I said it, but I'm writing that down because that was really good.
Yeah.
So I believe that it's somewhat of an internal knowing, and it's this desire to make things better, to change in ways that make progress, but the safety and understanding that that's okay to do is like an internal knowing somehow deep inside that I'm on the right path. And I think everybody has that. There's like this internal, I'll call it a compass. I mean, I have my audacious path compass, but it's like this permission to say, okay, yeah, this is right. And it feels good. And when I'm able to get in touch with that, there is nothing that's going to stop me.
Right. So good. That permission is true. And depending on how we're raised, or our environment, that we're raised in, that permission can be robbed of us. It can be robbed of us at a very young age, just because of the challenges that the environment that we are raised in, and whoever is raising us in their challenges. And by no means do these individuals often wake up and say, I'm going to be malicious today, and I'm going to be this terrible person today, right? They don't realize what they're doing. And when you do get that aha of giving, like, take back your permission, and when you control that permission, and you choose that permission, like you chose to take a job across the country, you chose to take back your permission that you gave in your marriage and decided that this permission I gave to you is not being utilized effectively. So I'm going to take it back and do what I want to do with it. And some may or may not disagree with that. And it's not for anyone to say what you did on your path is what they, because
Right.
we all are on our paths. Our paths are our paths and nobody else.
And I would say I wouldn't recommend my path to everybody. Like I'm not saying go do this because I did it.
Yeah.
There are some things on my path that I'll say, yeah, this was pretty cool, and you might want to consider it. And others that are like, if you don't have to do this, then don't, because it's not the easiest path.
Yeah.
And so, because I did it again, like 2 years later, I moved halfway back across the country to a new place where I knew nobody, and, and set up shop and had a great environment for my kids. Now that worked out for me because, where I was initially, it just didn't feel culturally like in alignment with who we were and what we were familiar with and used to. And, so moving back to the Midwest, we were more comfortable, more familiar. And even though we didn't know anybody here initially, and then, so my then husband moved here about a year after we did, and we have a great relationship now. And he's at my house 2 or 3 times a week and interacting with the kids, which is what I wanted for all of us. And, we're not in a romantic relationship anymore, and yet we're really good friends, and we help each other out when we need to, or when we have need for that, and it's been fantastic. So like I needed to have that be part of my journey in order for, I think, this to work. Because that separation, as an example, like, okay, we did it. I did it. I advanced in my career. That helped me. It helped to be separated from a situation that was painful, and then to have a new environment, to have a new, all new surroundings to help heal and be in a place where I could focus on just what I needed to focus on at that particular moment.
So powerful, because earlier you also said what it takes to be on the audacious path. And I think one of the key pieces in what you were just saying is giving yourself the opportunity to learn. Some lessons sometimes are a lot harder to learn than others, which can be like, why did I do that? But there's no regret. There's no like beating self up for it. It's just, okay, that was painful. I'm glad that I'm over that stump or that road speed bump. But giving yourself that space and that freedom to learn what lessons you need to learn. And even if you have this sort of knowing, like you were referring to earlier, we usually have this instinct. And if there's that instinct that's like itching at you and itching at you and itching at you, and you see it in all these different areas of your life, and you kind of just follow the breadcrumbs of that instinct and go a little bit deeper. And we're not saying jump in like you jumped in. You're like, I'm drowning here. I'm just jumping right in, right? Which sometimes that drastic ripping off of the Band-Aid, as I would call it, is good. Sometimes it's a really good choice to make. Other times it's not, depending on your journey, right? And no one can tell you if it's a right or wrong decision to make. And I'm really speaking to the listeners here more so than you. No one is going to have the right or wrong answer. You can seek advice from a million different people and try to figure out based on their opinions that are not your true path, your audacious path, right? You can try to figure out and do some studies of asking everybody else their opinions to figure out and take it into consideration, these different ideas, which is helpful. It's good. Sometimes it's good to ask. And so I guess my point being is really give yourself that opportunity to learn, however small or big it might be. Don't wait. Don't wait for things to come to you. Don't wait for people to come give you the answers or come and show you the path. Really figure out what path do you want to be on. That's one of my big bones that I like to pick with the world is the world tries to tell us how to live our lives, how we need to do, how we need to be, how we need to wear makeup on our hair and all these other things. And if you look any different than what the world is saying, then you're this outcast.
Right.
And that I think is hopefully changing, but creating your audacious path as colorful or as not colorful as you'd like it, like just be what you crave to be.
That's so good. That's really good. You know, it's all about decisions. It's all about what is it that we truly want to do, what's in alignment with who we are, and digging deep to understand what that is, who that is, what that means is such important work. You know, there are times in my life where I did reach out to a ton of people and what should I do here? What do you think about this? How many decisions do you think that I should make, here? Or like, and projecting outward and looking for the answers from an external source. And I got answers. And most of the time they weren't really in alignment with what I wanted or who I was or am, because they don't know who I am. They don't have my experiences. They don't understand what I'm going through in any particular moment. And it took me a really long time to understand that my answers can only come from me internally. And there's a, I do a lot of information gathering, don't get me wrong,
Totally.
like I'll do the research and I'll look at options, and I will present the options in front of me for me to decide. And I might ask very trusted sources for their opinion, but I take that into account with what it is in alignment with me and what's my ultimate goal and where do I head. So it took me a long time to figure that out. It took me a long time to understand how to use the information gathering as a source of just information for me, rather than, oh, that's the answer. Oh, that's the answer. Oh, that's the answer.
Information gathering as a source of energy or a source of information, not all of the information. And then also looking for the validation externally. If there's anything on my audacious path that I wish that I was able to overcome a lot sooner, and even more so still today, I still sometimes seek that validation. Getting validation is okay. Getting reassurance is okay, right? Definitely if that's a human thing to crave that reassurance in a healthy way. It's important to have it in a healthy way. But when there's that I had such a need, incredible need to seek validation from people. I need you to validate that I'm making the right decision, or else I cannot. I'm debilitated. I literally felt like I couldn't make the right decision, especially as a young adult, becoming a parent. I had my mindset on being a parent. Nobody could tell me otherwise. Oh, don't be a parent, or you're too young, or wait, or all the things that is interesting. It's either when are you having kids? When are you having kids? When you have a kid? Why are you having a kid? Why are you it's just like society. It's so polar opposite sometimes. But yeah, so that seeking that validation from parents, and when my parents particularly, and when that validation wasn't received, it like crushed me. I still made my decisions, but emotionally it crushed me. And I do wish that I gave myself that emotional freedom to make my decisions without feeling crushed by the rejection of the people that I loved in my life. So
such a great transition. Like that's a beautiful to learn and understand that, because it's okay wherever we are in any given moment. We're exactly where we need to be, because we can only change and move from where we are moving forward. And so understanding that, you just say, okay, yeah, that's how I've been operating. Is that how I want to continue to operate?
Right.
Does that serve me? Does that help me? Does that support me moving forward? And then you make a decision and then you move forward.
I think at the core of this conversation too, or this piece about validation, is that fear of rejection. They emotionally crushed me because I was being rejected, but if we don't fear being rejected, if we embrace being rejected, if we embrace those ebbs and flows of life, the big thing about, my husband says all the time, I jump off the cliff and I build my safety net on the way down, where he makes sure the parachute's working, good order, and figures out how to be safe. And then he takes the lead where I'm like, nope, we're going, let's go. Right. And so he's like, I create the little safe spot for you to land. And I'm like, but that's so annoying because you take such a longer route than I do. And I might get a few bumps and bruises on the way down, but I get there and time doesn't hold me back. Why was I sharing that? I like to just jump and take leaps. Oh, my audacious path. That's part of being on my path is taking those audacious leaps and just trusting in the process. And then the fear of rejection, trying to overcome and letting go and embracing, not necessarily letting go, but embracing that rejection. Life is ups and downs, right? So there's gonna be good highs and there's gonna be lows. And when those lows happen, you can still embrace them in the same way you embrace the highs. It can be emotionally in alignment still. You might have an emotional breakdown. You might cry it out. It's okay to cry it out, but then embrace that, cry it out. Like, yeah, I just cried that shit out, right?
Be in it.
Exactly. It's so powerful to be able to really embrace your true being without worrying what everybody else has to think, say, or do about it.
Right. For sure.
Love it. This has been an awesome conversation. I know this is our second one. So tell us more about your strong, I totally got off on a tangent there. So thank you for being patient, but tell us more about your strong financial foundation experience and journey with women entrepreneurs.
So one of the things that I do is work with people to really create that for themselves, because I know I've been through it and how important it was for me. And so I have a money course that I offer and work with people around building that strong financial foundation. It's the acronym of money. It's 5 modules. Of course, we talk about money mindset, we talk about opening the books and really gathering all the information. Talk about information gathering before. It's about like being able to do that non-judgmentally. It's about knowing your numbers and knowing what is happening now and being able to navigate that and to be able to really understand and decide where you want your money to go. It's about evaluating everything. Evaluate everything means that you're looking at it, tweaking it, making changes, because just like life, the only constant is change. Money is also ever evolving and changing, and looking at it on a regular basis to evaluate where you are now and where you want to go. And so super important. And then the last one is unique. It's living on last year's income. And it's a different concept. It may or may not be your ultimate goal. It's what allowed me to be able to build my own business and to take the leap again from corporate to be able to do what I'm doing now. And what that means is you're not living paycheck to paycheck. You start by living on last month's income and having that cushion so that you've already earned the money and then you're going to pay it out. And what does it look like if you're living on 2 months? You have 2 months of expenses saved, or 3 months or 4 months, and then building it so that you're living on last year's income. That means that you have such a cushion to be able to give you choices, to give you freedom, to give you the opportunity to almost do whatever you want. Like, if you needed to, if a pandemic happened or something else catastrophic, you would be okay. And that is such an amazing safety, and talk about safety and freedom. So like that feels good, especially to women, because that comfort often, in having a cushion is important. But we get there eventually. It's not an instantaneous thing if that's the goal. And if it's not, we talk about what's the yearly focus for your money, taking that broader look at, is your money working for you, and how to move forward. So that's the course in a nutshell. And it's wonderful to be able to work with women who are really finally taking control of their own finances. And if they're in a relationship, then they're able to have those conversations that haven't happened before, or that have been uncomfortable in the past, that have working with somebody else on the budget or spending plan can be difficult at times. And I've got lots of stories about that too. But it's, it's empowering to be able to move through this and get to the other side and have that strong financial foundation. Such a transformational thing, because then you can move into all the other areas of what I call my audacious path compass. Like money is a segment of our life, and yet it touches everything, because it's the tool that we use in this life here on earth right now to navigate all the things. And when we have enough prosperity and resources to be able to do the things that we want to do, I think that's when we're able to fully fulfill why we're here. And as a female entrepreneur, there can't be a better thing and place to be here on earth, because hopefully you're aligned with what you're doing, and doing it for a very personal reason, and you're dedicated to seeing a change in this world. And I think that's why most people go into this line of work, being a female entrepreneur. So when you have that, and you have the money to be able to make the impact on the world that you really want to have, and you're able to have fun doing it because you have the resources to do and have what you want, there's nothing that can stop you.
No, there really isn't. And as you also said earlier, safety and understanding the right thing to do, like you have that safety and understanding the right thing to do because you have that safety that you've kind of built around you. It's interesting, for a quick example, watching like Downton Abbey, and how these big estates are transitioning through the years. They had to pivot and they had to make choices. And now look at where our life is. There is no big estates. Often there's a lot of smaller estates. We all have our little bite-sized chunk instead of relying on the one person who has the big estate, and our bite-sized chunk, making it what we want it to be, designing it for how we want to design it, instead of living in the ways that we've been taught to live with money. Another really great resource is Profit First. Just the fact of switching your thought process and how you grow is something that I've been really grateful for. I'm still not quite to your level of understanding it, for sure, but it's given me a good starting point, and then being able to get to that really what I crave my audacious path to be. And that journey, like you were saying, there's a journey that you have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Don't wait until you have the money.
Yeah, you start where you are always.
Yeah, exactly. You have to start where you are, and then your bigger picture will come to fruition. But being patient with that process is really important.
Yeah, it's a journey that allows you to explore and be curious about, oh, will this work? Is this something that will help and support and serve me? And being in that mindset helps along the way when there are obstacles. There are places where we pause, and we might even backslide a little bit, and that's okay. We're still progressing. We're actually, taking the path.
The journey.
And we're on the journey.
Thank you for sharing. I'm really excited for people to hear more about your, where can they find you, your website and everything?
Audaciouspath.com. And if you want to get a little taste of my work, you can go to audaciouspath.com/compass and see a little bit more about what I was talking about with regard to the compass. And there's an audio, it's about 25 minutes. I ask that you just give yourself a half an hour just for you to go through the process. It's a deep process that allows you to really understand your audacious path and where you are now, and then where you really want to go. So let me know how that goes. I would love to hear
that. And your email?
Andrea@audaciouspath.com. It's AUDACIOUSPATH.com.
Perfect. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's a pleasure.